Hey guys, just wanted to do a video, kind of show the progress, ask some questions. I think the video makes it easier for you guys to see exactly things that I'm asking and what I'm talking about. Just got the pony motor put back on last weekend. I pulled it to do some adjustments on the starting latches on the pinion, because every time you take the decompression lever off to try to start the damn thing, it'd kick out, and there just wasn't enough room. Although I'll show you in a minute, the big hole that was in the side, I think I probably could have done it. But notice that the pictures like I posted, there's brass welded all the way around that starting pinion. That thing was broken in half. Probably should have just got a whole new case, but I welded it and it seems to work. I mean, now at least I can engage it and it stays engaged. Pulled this cover off to clean in the clutch housing, because the clutch housing inside this clutch was just disgusting. It was full of leaves and grease and oil, and this is a dry clutch type, so I figured all that crap being in there. I've been having problems with it lately. It snaps, but it just doesn't seem like it. I adjust it and it stays snapped where it is. Well, after I looked into it, I don't know if you can see it. Let's see if I can find it. This plate right here goes to this, and the lever hooks to it, and you can see how much that thing's wobbling. Move it there, but you can see the clutch, how it's just, that thing is sloppy. Well, what I found out, the case that goes over the top that says broke, well, there's no bolt on this end, and this one's just barely hanging on there. But it almost looks like that plate down there is broke. So is that plate supposed to be a part of this case, or is it supposed to be separate like it is? I just couldn't tell. I'll show you the case. I was going to try welding it and fixing it, but I just don't know if it's worth it. This is the case. I noticed there's a crack up here on the top. And then it comes around. Hopefully they turn out. It comes around. Let's see if I can get it. It's kind of hard to get it to focus. And there it is. You can kind of see the crack coming. It's right here coming down. And then it goes back into the starting latch. I think this has been also part of the problem, is this case, there was no bolts in this thing. It was just sitting on there. It had a bolt right here, but I never realized how loose it was. There was so much grease on this thing. But the major problem is right here. You can see how bad this case is broke. And when I got this machine, he told me about it, and he said it was like that when he bought it, and he's never had issues with it. But after digging around in the toolbox, I found some of the pieces to it. So I'm guessing when maybe they had this pony motor, at one point someone adjusted it and it was up too tight, and that starting pinion came apart, and that's why it's been brazed back together, and maybe that's why this is all blown out, because it's right near the starting latch. That was just my assumption. My question is, I have this piece, and it's where the bolts go. Could I just put this back in and then make a plate to go around this to weld it back in, or would it be more time, how would I say this, better money spent to just try and get one of these used and not bother doing that? I don't know, because it doesn't seem like it really does anything support wise. It's just to keep the clutch clean. That was just my take on it. Something else on this dozer I've been wanting to do, this is a generator, and I saved this case. I used to have a D4 Traxcavator, but it was just too far gone to save, so I saved a whole bunch of parts off of it. And I saved this because these worked. Can I put this generator in this case on this D6? Because the case looks identical to that one. I mean, maybe it's not a generic part, but that's just what it seemed like for the cat. That case looks like it matches right up to that one. If you hold them up, they look like they match the same. Because I wanted to put a light kit on this one. I don't want to put a starter and all that on the pony motor, even though I have a pony motor starter, but I don't think it's the same for this 6. I think the D4's got a different pony motor than the 6s do. I don't know, maybe they're not, they look, I have a pony motor too, I've just never put them side by side to see what they look like. I tried to save as much as I could of that thing. But I wanted to put lights on it, so I figured if I put that generator on there, I could put lights on this thing and it'd help it a lot. Another question I have. Look at these rollers, especially this one, or idlers, especially this one. I've been needing to split these tracks. I know if you can see the pins, they're getting hit. So I don't know if my rails are so worn that the rock guards are doing this, or if my rollers are so worn that the flanges on the rollers are hitting them. But before I get to that, I want to weld this up, this idler up. But my concern is, I know I can't see it on camera, but there's a lot of spots through here when it's rolling that you can see daylight through it, and there's a whole crack on this inside edge that goes around the whole way. I don't know if I should try building that roller up, or that idler up, or just get rid of it and get a new one. I can't show it because there's tension on it and it won't wiggle, but when this cat's walking, this idler, I know it's got a bad bearing because this idler just jumps all around. I can show you at least one of the bottom rollers, and looking in at it, I mean, the flanges look good and the rollers look flat, but it looks like this is where they're hitting because you can see how polished it is. So I was thinking I could just weld these up, take the swing frame out and weld them up, because I need to take the swing frame out anyway, because those bottom rollers, every once in a while there's a couple of them in there that have a bolt busted off, so I figured I just pulled the swing frame out and replace all the bolts and weld them all up. I also wanted to tackle these sprockets because I think they're right at the point in their life where I could do what I seen on the forum and cut a piece of steel to set up here and then use my press and press it in and weld it. Maybe these should go a little while longer before I do that, but I just figured right now, if I'm going to take the swing frames all apart, it'd be the perfect time to build up the sprockets, because I've checked as the book shows, to see that these aren't loose, and they're not. They seem tight. I've never had to adjust them, but they seem tight. They aren't leaking, so I figured they were fine. Anyway, just a few of the questions I had, hoping that I can do something to help it along, tighten this dozer up. It's a good machine, and I'm just trying to get everything back into spec, because I think, my assumption is, I'm guessing it was a logging cat, and I think they just worked on it for 10 minutes to get another hour out of it to keep it running so they didn't have to shut down. So it's got a lot of stuff that's borderline, being right out of spec. So I'm just trying to get everything back into spec and make this dozer a nice tight little machine. Any input, guys, would be great. Thanks.